Sometimes you find a project you cannot turn down. Do you see that? That, believe it or not, under all that undergrowth is one of these, a Nova, an iconic design dreamed up in the 1970s, known for its crazy styling and perhaps most of all, a hydraulic canopy roof. One of my dream cars. Pretty cool if you ask me. That white dot is my new Nova, which sadly was abandoned in the early 2000s. And as you can imagine, 25 years in a mini forest doesn't do a car any favours. After cutting it all back, this is what was left. These are the pictures that made me buy it. It was too far away and it needed to be moved quickly, so I sent the seller the money and hoped for the best. I wasn't expecting much, but this may have been my only chance to get one of my dream cars. After some careful extraction from its resting place, we got the car back to the barn. Amazingly, the wheels weren't seized and the tyres held air. For a little while at least. I'll tell you more about how it ended up in such a state later. But first, let's take a better look at what we're working with. Okay, so here we go, officially introducing to the channel my Nova. And I mean, work with me here. When you think about it, it's been submerged in a mini forest for over 20 years. So it's looking pretty good with that in mind. I think I'd look a lot worse having been through that than this car does. So we're off to a pretty good start. For those of you who haven't come across the Nova before, it originated here in the UK in the early 70s, but the company was sold lots of times and the shape was licensed all over the world under different names. Most notably in the US, it was known as a Sterling. As someone who loves classic cars, especially leaning more towards the bizarre and the fiberglass and all of the forgotten British marks that existed through, the 60s through to the 90s, the Nova is kind of the king. It's the holy grail for me, and I think a lot of people. It's one of the few fiberglass kit cars that sort of escaped the kit car status and became iconic in its own right. And that was for lots of reasons, just how unbelievable it looked and crazy, and the canopy, and it's just a really cool machine. And as a result, they are quite hard to get hold of. A really nice one will set you back a lot of money now. And Novas in this sort of condition, they don't really come up as much anymore. And when they do, they're still fetching very strong money, which I can't afford. So when this appeared, I bid on it as much as I could, and I got it for a very good price. I mean, I think when a lot of people look at it, they would argue that it wasn't a very good price, but for one of these, I think it was a good price. Trying to justify my decisions. But what's also particularly interesting about this one is the engine. It has an Alfa Romeo engine, specifically a 1500 Alfa Sud engine, which is quite a nice piece to have in this. So this has been built to much more than just the standard. Someone really did have a lot of fun with this. But what's next? Well, before we can get a proper idea on this thing, it's time to give it a wash. It has 20 plus years of dirt caked on. I deliberately haven't shown you the interior. You'll have to wait a few minutes for that. There's lots growing in it. It is a fully natural environment in there now. So we really need just to clean this thing, make it safe, see what we're left with, and yeah, hopefully breathe a little bit of life into it. Then when this thing is no longer a biohazard, we can chuck a battery on and see if we can get any life out of it at all. And hopefully we can get that automatic canopy to pop up once again. But first we need to get this thing home to the water supply, which means I need to take off these crusty, rotten tyres, put some brand new, fresh Junkyard tyres on, and get it onto the trailer. Okay, so the car is back home and it is ready for its first wash in 30 years. It's safe to say I think we're a little bit beyond the 2-bucket method, so I'm just going to hit it with a lot of pressure, a lot of soap, and see what we're left with underneath all of this very caked on dirt and grime. Once we've done that, we can take this canopy off and tackle the interior, and I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek. Gosh, I think this is the worst interior I've had to tackle. But we'll get to that shortly. Let's give this thing a wash. Okay, so believe it or not, the car is a lot cleaner. I got rid of all of the major dirt, but I've never known dirt like this. It has really stained the paint, and even though I used a scouring pad, some of it still is just really deeply ingrained into the paint. Obviously, it doesn't matter too much. This car is going to need repainting, and we did remove quite a lot of the paint in this process as well. But before I go any further, I will try and attack it a bit more, but I want to start doing the interior portions because we're going to kick out a lot of dirt doing that as well. Before we do the main cabin, to kick things off, let's start in the boot. Wow, that is disgusting. Okay, so we have a proper swamp that has now formed in the boot. Obviously, there is not really any seal to keep the water out, so yeah, this is going to be quite nasty. But what is going on in the front? Well, obviously we've got the battery and we've got the fuse box, but that thing, well, that is the hydraulic pump and system that basically lifts the canopy up so you can so elegantly get in and out of the car. Who knows if this thing still works? I would imagine it doesn't, but we can hope. Obviously, once we've got everything all cleaned up, we can put a new battery on and just see what works. But yeah, it would be nice if we could get that going in this episode. But first things first, I'm going to blast this with even more water just to remove all the dirt. Then I might have to drill a hole in the bottom just to let this drain, or just put some gloves on and just start scooping it out and see what happens. Wish me luck. Okay, so there we go, the boot area is completely cleaned out. The mini swamp is gone. I'm pleased as I was able to drill out the drain holes which were completely blocked, so we hopefully won't run into that situation again. And I'm sure you can now see why I don't want to do any additional cleaning to the bodywork, because yeah, the amount of dirt it kicks out, and I'm sure we're going to have even more of that when we open this canopy. And I think it is now time, the moment you've all been waiting for. So let's get this off. Well, this isn't the most comfortable driving position. After cleaning this cabin, I think I'm going to have about 500 showers. That was maybe the worst interior I've ever had to deal with. It's certainly up there, but I do have quite a talent at finding cars in this sort of condition. I should probably work on that. Obviously, it's still a complete state in here. I am pleased, though, it's more sanitary. There's still lots of sharp things and lots of rust, which is always good to be aware of. But the floor pan isn't horrendous. We've got a few holes, but I've seen a lot worse. The dashboard has come up relatively well, which is nice, and I can safely touch it. The next thing to do really is see if we can get any life out of this in some form. I don't really want to attack the engine this week without doing further investigation, because we might just mess it up. It's been sitting for so long. But I would like to see if we can get any sort of functions out of the car. Most importantly, the hydraulic roof. I'm not optimistic. There's so many wires going nowhere, which we will have to be very aware of, with fiberglass and just fire and all of those fun things. But yeah, let's see if we can get any life on it. We'll stick a battery in the front. There's also another battery which is kind of meant to go here. So I'm not sure which one does what, but we're going to find out. The clock is ticking. It's making a noise from the hydraulic pump when I press this button. Well, as you'd expect, nothing happened. We did get that slight clicking, which means something's happening, but the wiring is probably very tired, and obviously this car has very recently been drenched with pressure washers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and just bypass it all and just see if we can get some life out of this pump and see if we can get the roof to go up that way. Okay, so this is actually really cool. The hydraulic system is working, as you saw. I tested everything and bypassed all of the wiring. I will sort that properly at some point, but for the sake of testing, it's much easier just to have a little basic setup for it to go up and down. One thing to mention is I have bled the system as best as I can, but as you saw, this one goes up first and kind of leads, and then this one follows. And that's just the nature of it. That is the one getting the main feed, and then this one happens afterwards. My thinking is the load of the roof will kind of equalize that. That's my theory, at least. I'm not sure. I've never dealt with hydraulics or anything like this before. But I'm going to put the roof on and we're going to test it again, and hopefully that will resolve it. Just right about there. Yeah, no, I'm all right. There we go, it's through. Wow. There. Hey. Okay, so there we go. The Nova really has come a long way in today's episode, from literally being abandoned for 25 years to being less of a biohazard and having a functioning canopy roof. We're obviously a long way from getting this on the road, but it has certainly been a very productive few days. It really is a nice feeling seeing this come back to life and the idea of returning it to its former glory. And on that note, I want to show you this picture. Some of you might remember this picture from the very beginning sequence, and that is actually this car back in the 80s when it was in its prime condition. And seeing pictures like that make me really want to bring it back to that state. I've been very fortunate that I have actually been able to speak to the long-standing owner of this Nova, who basically spec'd it like this. He actually found it in the early 80s and it already had quite a life. It had been abandoned, mucked around with, and then he turned it into this, as you can see in the picture. He then sold it in the late 90s, and what happened for the following 25 years is a bit of a mystery. So if any of you know, please do get in touch. The person I bought it from inherited the car with a commercial building he was renovating. They literally found it. They had no idea it was there, and they just started clearing the site, and it emerged in its original state that I showed you at the beginning. From the information I've been able to gather, it's clear that things were done to this car in that time. The interior is a different colour to the way it was sold, and when the long-term owner sold it, he had sold it with a broken engine. It did include a new engine though, which is what I believe is fitted to it now. And in the next episode on this, we will be attempting to get this thing running and driving, but we'll see how far we get. So a huge amount of excitement to come on this and our other builds like the Carlton, which will be being painted anytime now. If you enjoyed this episode, and even if you didn't, please do like, share, comment, subscribe, all that sort of thing. It really does help me out, allows me to keep making videos on forgotten cars like this. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please do check out the Patreon down below. Over there, I post behind the scenes content, early access, all that sort of thing. The patrons saw this car a while ago. So yeah, if you want the behind the scenes scoop, do check it out. But I think that is enough for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care, and I will see you then.